Utopianism has always involved the imagination of a better world, a perfected society set against the imperfect society of the present, whether as an object of speculative philosophical reflection, a practical program for social transformation, or an idle daydream. Utopia has always evinced the hope that reality might be made ideal. In the dictionary, a utopia is defined as an imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect. Although everyone young and old has their own interpretation of what a utopia is. So, we've decided to interview some professionals, social studies teachers, and citizens from New Harmony, Indiana, to get different mature perspectives on this fascinating concept that has found its way into science fiction movies and books.
And I think a true utopia is where everybody gets along and actually become a community.
A utopia is a place in which people attempt to find the ideal situation for everybody that participates in the community.
A utopia for me is a place where the word want is no longer in the vocabulary. So people have all of their basic needs and they also have the opportunity to achieve whatever brings them happiness.
Where people come together and blend together even with our differences, kind of a utopia.
The idea of a utopia was not created simply by the author of Divergent or a Steven Spielberg film, but originated when Sir Thomas More wrote about the first utopia. He coined the word from the Greek word utopos, meaning no place or nowhere. He envisioned a serene community on an island that had defined systems of punishment, social hierarchy, agriculture, marriage, dress, and death. More planned every detail down to the religion and government of his fictional community. More even created a utopian alphabet, a series of symbols to replace the Roman alphabet. The idea of a utopia may seem fictional and strange, but surprisingly, a small town just 3 hours south of Zionsville, Indiana, attempted to create one hundreds of years ago. This is the story of New Harmony, Indiana, a civilization created to be a perfect society, but destroyed by the imperfections of man. In 1814, George Rapp left everything he knew in Germany to create a perfect society, a utopia, in Indiana. After a decade of success in what he called harmony, he sold it to Robert Owen, who also strived for a world of perfection. Today, what is now named New Harmony is a historical treasure that will never be forgotten. New Harmony was originally founded by a group of separatists from the German Lutheran Church in the 19th century. These separatists were called Rappites. This name was derived from the last name of their leader, George Rapp. George Rapp founded what he called harmony with the intent of creating a perfect society in which everyone was equal and happy. Although not all leaders are heroes, George Rapp forcefully drove the idea of strict religion into his community. If someone wanted to join harmony, they had to confess all of their sins to him. He required that any disagreements that occurred had to be settled by the end of the day that they took place. He also required that anyone that sinned had to confess to him before the day was over. Rapp eventually renounced marriage and made the citizens of New Harmony live lives of celibacy.
You were allowed to remain a family unit, but mom and dad had to treat one another like brother and sister. So sometimes you didn't even sleep in the same room, let alone the same bed. So you would sleep with her and you would sleep somewhere else. Because you had to raise your children like they were younger siblings. Because they were celibate.
When walking through the streets of New Harmony today, it's very clear that George Rapp's religious teachings and beliefs have left a legacy within the conservative town. One place where this is apparent is the roofless church, which is located in the middle of the town. This large stone wall with no roof was built to represent the Rappites' belief that God was so great that he could not be contained under a roof. Another example of Rapp's determination to achieve total equality and harmony was their tradition that when harmonists died, they did not receive a headstone, an attempt to again achieve complete equality.
There are 140 people buried behind that wall and 2 Native Americans, and there's not a single headstone. Because no one should get a bigger headstone than anybody else, so nobody got them.
For the first 10 years, Rapp's harmony flourished. It was considered a wonder of the West. Although, Rapp's sense of leadership dwindled, and unfortunately, he and the Harmony Society became involved in many legal cases with former society members who felt taken advantage of for their time and labor. Rapp even declared false predictions about the one concept that kept his utopia thriving, religion. One of his false predictions includes when he accepted Bernard Mueller as the man who could unite all true Christians. He was wrong and ended up changing his mind the next year. and 1/3 of his society members separated and joined with Mueller in establishing a separate utopian community. This community was known as the New Philadelphian Society, located in Pennsylvania. Although, after just 18 short months of the society's existence, it fell apart in 1833, and the 173 German members had then been participants in 2 failing utopias. During the time of the New Philadelphian Society, New Harmony was sold to a Welsh-born philosopher, Robert Owen. Robert Owen, an Englishman with little formal education, was fascinated with the idea of social experiments and wanted to create a communal utopia, mainly focusing on developing sciences. Robert Owen purchased the land that George Rapp once called Harmony and renamed it New Harmony. His goal for this utopia was to create a society with free education, personal wealth, and no social classes. He even took the idea of a utopia as far as distinguishing the equality of women and men, allowing both genders to lead lives in scientific fields and discoveries. At first, his society attracted many scholars and scientists who wanted to do research. One of these scientists was the famous geologist Thomas Say.
This is a book by Thomas Say. Thomas Say lived here and actually is buried here. He and his wife had come here, and he did a rather extensive study of the mussels that were in the Wabash River here at New Harmony. And he would do his drawings. This is a book that, with the drawings and explanations of what the things that he was finding and studying and so forth. He also liked to study bugs and other little creatures, and he also did drawings of them.
Robert Owen's utopia gave the people hope that maybe the idea of a perfect society could be possible. However, people in the community struggled to be self-sufficient. They no longer felt the common goal to be part of a perfect society, and as a result of this, they abandoned New Harmony, and even Robert Owen eventually left. This led to the end of Robert Owen's utopia in 1826, just 2 years after it was founded. Even after Robert Owen's New Harmony failed, the town continued to grow and develop, becoming the successful community it is today. The legacy of George Rapp's Harmony and Robert Owen's New Harmony is not only physically shown throughout the community. There's a profound sense of connection that the residents share because they all acknowledge New Harmony's rich history and the leadership of both George Rapp and Robert Owen. New Harmony may seem like just any other small town, but its legacy stretches as far as it's able, even farther than impacting the generations of New Harmony residents and the buildings that make up the town. Because of the creation of other utopias such as the New Philadelphian Society and the scientific discoveries made in Robert Owen's utopia, the legacy of New Harmony is ostentatious and incredible. Many of these things wouldn't have ever been accomplished if it weren't for the leadership of both Robert Owen and George Rapp. Even so, we're still left with the question, will New Harmony ever return to its ways of utopian trial? If a new leader was to attempt the same idea of a perfect world that both George Rapp and Robert Owen did centuries ago, would it succeed?
I don't think a utopia is possible today because people have such different ideas about how everybody should live and want to force those ideas upon other people.
I don't think it can. I think there are far too many different people for everyone to get along with everybody else. I think there are always going to be those people who want to have more power over other people.
Will New Harmony's legacy ever be forgotten from generation to generation? Will we find towns like New Harmony all over the globe that are just waiting to be discovered and cherished? Only time will tell.